Our mate Nigel Farage is joining us from the UK right now, and he's making quite the point about the new Labor government. In fact, the Reform Party's put out a bit of a piss-take video about the new Labor government. Roll the tape.
We bring you Labour's Britain, featuring shivering grandparents with no winter fuel allowance, free clothing, glasses, accommodation and tickets, as long as you're a Labour MP. Starring Free Gear Care, Robbing Rachel, in association with the trade unions. Labour's Britain.
I love it, Nigel. You're a happy warrior on the trail, and you continue to be so in the Parliament. Oh, I love it. I love it.
So the broadcasting rules in the UK are very clear. We get a party political broadcast once every year or so, which goes out on the big channels, BBC, ITV, etc. But you're not allowed to use images of political opponents. So what our bright young things in the office decided is, let's use AI representations of Keir Starmer, of Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, and we sent it to the broadcasters last week, and they told us we would love to refuse this, but we can't because you're within the rules. Now, I expect the rules will get rewritten, but it's had quite an impact. And you know what? It's a hard-hitting political message, but it's also quite funny.
Well, and that's I think if you can make them laugh, then you're halfway there to being able to convince somebody to whatever your position is. Now, tell me about a fight involving particular islands. What's happening?
This is awful. So the Chagos Islands, OK, I know you've never heard of them. They're bang in the middle of the Indian Ocean. They're a chain of islands, and the British have control. The British have sovereignty of those islands. No one lives there for a variety of reasons. But on the biggest island, Diego Garcia, there is a massive US base. It's a US-British base, but for America, it is one of their two most important assets in the East. And what the Labour government have decided to do, basically because of colonial guilt about our past, using the spurious United Nations Maritime Court that's going to rule against us, they've decided to give the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, which is 1,300 miles away from Chagos, and by the way, Mauritius have never had control of them in the past either. What's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that Mauritius, run by a hard left Labour government, and I went there on holiday a couple of years ago, has a massive Chinatown. The Chinese are investing huge amounts of money in Mauritius, and what will happen here is whatever the lease agreement says. We saw a lease agreement with Hong Kong that was totally ignored. Oh, yeah. What will happen is on one of the other islands, the Chinese will build their own naval and air force base. This is a strategic disaster, apparently supported by President Biden, but then he's got every single foreign policy decision wrong. And so I raised the question yesterday in the House of Commons to our Foreign Secretary, well, what after November the 5th? When Donald Trump wins, what's he going to think about this? And what does this do to our relationship, our key, as with Australia, our key relationship with America? They must be laughing their socks off in Beijing.
Well, it's a perfect metaphor for how the Western world, without, for want of a better term, a shot being fired, they're handing the keys back. And it's something that we all fight as hard against each and every day. You do it in the Parliament, we do it here. Hard out in about 30 seconds. So yep. Give me the rah-rah. The latest polls are pretty good for Trump. How are you feeling?
Yeah, looking good. Kamala Harris appeared on 60 Minutes, the big American programme, last night. She's avoided media up until now. She was totally exposed. She couldn't answer the question about the number of illegals crossing the border since she had been the border czar. And the betting markets went bananas last night. And Trump is now a clear favourite. Go get 'em, Donald.
Fight, fight, fight. Vote, 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 as they say. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.